hyperinflation and the plunge of the U.S. dollar. Many experts have gone on record saying that the U.S. monetary policy has passed the point of no return when it comes to printing money. So Americans eventually one day may have a stash of cash at home, but if you go to a store and bread costs $10, $20, what is your money really worth?
Hyperinflation is one of the silent assassins of the modern world. Countries who don't have a solid economy, and even countries that do, can be hit by this phenomenon. But what is hyperinflation exactly? To get an answer to that question, we will give you an example. When a country has large debt to, for example, another country, they have to pay off those debts somehow. In a lot of cases, that just isn't possible because the economic growth of the country in debt isn't sufficient or is even stagnating.
Guess what? One day these countries could no longer afford to repay their debts.
Bolivia was probably the most severe case of how things had gone wrong in Latin America. For decades, they just printed money. They collected no taxes. If you can't collect taxes, you have to make money up somehow, and so you just printed it.
But what are the consequences of these actions? There is more money than there are goods, so the prices will go sky high. A simple thing like bread, for instance, will cost thousands and sometimes even millions. Other reasons why hyperinflation occurs are people losing confidence in a currency or the speculations on the stock market. One of the most recent cases of hyperinflation is taking place in Zimbabwe. The prices in Zimbabwe fluctuate with more than 100% a day. Experts predicted an inflation rate of more than 100,000% in 2008. In that same year, the price of a newspaper went from 200,000% to a stunning 3 million Zimbabwe dollars, which resembles 40 euro cents. Another country that had to deal with this issue was, and somewhat is, Bolivia.
When I was going to college in Texas, first question you'd be asked is, who's the president of Bolivia this week? Second question down the road was, you're from Bolivia. Ah, Bolivia. What's the inflation rate in Bolivia this week? Because we had galloping hyperinflation that destroyed our economic base.
We found that Bolivia was the 7th highest inflation in the history of man.
23,500%. Prices increased by the hour.
But the Bolivians get help from an expert.
When I got to La Paz in July 1985, the inflation rate was about 60,000%. It was an extraordinary and terrifying thing to see, actually. It was a society at the edge of the precipice.
We told him, you have 90 days before Bolivia's hyperinflation becomes the highest inflation in world history. So he told us, okay, you have 20 days, you have to start working now.
There was a big discussion whether you could stop hyperinflation or inflation period by taking gradual steps. In this, Jeff Sachs was influential. He's had all this gradualist stuff that just doesn't work. When it really gets out of control, you got to stop it. Like in medicine, you got to take some radical steps, otherwise your patient is going to die.
But Jeff Sachs came with a new method: shock therapy.
Shock therapy is get it over, get it done, stop hyperinflation, and then start rebuilding your economy so you achieve growth.
Caught everybody by surprise. It had great credibility. It was a shock.
Shock therapy meant taking some serious actions. Government spending was slashed, price controls were scrapped, import tariffs were cut, government budgets were balanced.
We didn't use highly sophisticated economic theory to deal with hyperinflation. We just used very simple things, such as from now on the government will only spend what it gets. You get 1 peso, spend 1 peso. You get 2 pesos, spend 2 pesos. If we don't have it, we don't spend it. No borrowing from the central bank, and therefore the central bank did not have to print money.
So there is a solution for hyperinflation, but the process takes time. But what does hyperinflation mean for the life of the regular people? The normal reaction for people is to go on a hoarding spree. They buy as much products as they can when the prices are still relatively low. This results in production problems, and food producers can't pay their workers anymore because the money they just earned isn't worth anything in a couple of days. That's why hyperinflation can figuratively kill a country in just a matter of days or weeks.
Hyperinflation, if you don't kill it, then you only have one bullet. It'll eat you.